Now I am in fact ready to do what must be done. Yeah, that's.
Are you recording?
No. Should I be?
Yes. This is gonna be the
Okay,
hardest one
now
to
I'm
sync up.
recording.
How's it going, everybody? I am Donut. I am here with my fiance, Thermite Kitty.
That's me.
This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. If you're not supporting that shit, get the fuck off this channel. We are recording this one right after we just did the last one, which we normally never do. But I wanted to be transparent about that in case it matters. I don't know why, but anyway, this is season 1, episode 6 for all time, always.
Good final title. Holy crap.
I feel the exact opposite way. I'm never a
Really?
fan of that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm never a fan of we're just gonna use something that's been said a lot in the thing as the final episode title. To be fair, I do like that more than I like what the Netflix series always do, where it's like the final episode is gonna be called Daredevil, the final episode is gonna be called The Defenders, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, fair.
Like, I that's what I most hate is when the final episode is called the name of the series. But yeah, I don't know. I want it's too predictable. I would want something more unique.
That's fair.
Cause yeah, I really like having
for me,
guess for the titles. But when it's these, it's like, well, it's the thing they've been saying for 6 episodes.
I can understand your complaint there. My perspective is just that, I mean, it's the thing they've been saying all series, but it's a really cool thing to say. And, like,
Sure.
I don't know what else could convey the stakes, especially since we don't really understand the stakes that well.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't say it does a good job.
Always. No, I mean, that's the thing, though. Like, in terms of the plot, I don't know. But in terms of the title, I get it immediately. Like,
Sure.
this is going to be for all time, always. Whether that is, like, creating the multiverse, like, because of the way time travel works. Like, should they create the multiverse now, it has always existed, in which case that's for all time, always. If it's something more negative, like, I set off the Loki bomb and now there are no more Lokis, that's also for all time, always.
Yeah, I don't think we could be
sets
creating the multiverse. I again think we're just opening it up further.
I could see that. Like, based just on... how do I put it? Your thing makes way more sense. Like, every single time, I always bring up the concept of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. Like, does that exist somewhere else and we're just opening it up? Or is this a situation where it's like, because of this, we are now going to allow things to happen so that in the past, at some point, because Anthony Stark steps on the wrong banana, eventually we get to the point where Peter Parker is born way earlier, and he's got a different aunt, and he's got a different uncle, and he wakes up and Oscorp exists.
Yeah, like...
It's way more of a stretch, as opposed to just, like, that did happen due to, some extremely, crazy point at the very, very, start of existence. And that's just been sealed away.
I mean, it's also, like, what about what Doctor Strange looked into in Infinity War?
That is also a big one. What was he doing? Was he just tripping balls?
I mean, what about, Dormammu? Was Dormammu just somewhere in space?
True, what are dimensions?
Exactly, like... I mean, like, I could buy that, one universe has multiple dimensions, and then those dimensions are not separate universes. They are just separate dimensions. I don't really quite understand it, but I can kind of buy it. But what the fuck did Doctor Strange look into in Infinity War? That's the big one. What was he doing?
Yeah.
I mean, also, just, if time travel is possible, and even though we put back the stones, that feels like we did go to another dimension. We did go to another world. We did go to another multiverse. But again, that's light compared to the Doctor Strange thing.
Yeah, and that's something where, like, I don't think we're going to address it, but I really hope they would. Like, even if it is a straight up, like, it's me, final boss Loki, I love the Avengers.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I can also see why Loki
something
wouldn't want to bring
good.
Avengers here. Just saying that. Like, it wouldn't be like I love the Avengers. It would be like, well, I'm scared of what they would do.
True. They will beat my ass.
Like, that was my original guess for the TVA. Was the TVA was like, the Avengers might not be the strongest people we've brought in, but they are the most like determined. They are the most like they will find a way to win.
Yeah, it would be extremely genre savvy of them. Like, as people who exist, supposedly outside of everything else, to be like, well, we know these are the ones that keep on winning, so let's not bring them in, because they usually win.
Okay, apologies. Had some technical difficulties there. We left off by saying the Avengers will always find a way to win. You were saying they are very, like, genre savvy to do that. Like, if that were to be the case. But okay, not sure what else we were talking about, so let's just get into this. If you want to see the full length, check out my Patreon below for $4 a month. If you want to get early access to Black Widow and whatever's next, what if, maybe, I don't know. What if it's on the Patreon? Go check it out.
Hate it.
Let's jump in. This episode is we already did that. Jump again.
Yeah, you did it. We already did it. So scrambled.
Okay, we're here discussing this episode. Okay, let's start off with explain to me how this, like, what you were saying at the end.
Okay. So, the way I understand the ending is... So, there is one sacred timeline. That is all there is. He Who Remains got rid of all the other timelines in the big old multiversal war that was, all the Hims fighting.
Then what are the branches?
So,
real quick.
The branches are, like, the creation of new, like, timelines / universes. Like, if you want to be pedantic, then it is technically a multiverse, but it is a clear, like, if something is happening to make it a multiverse, we go back and we erase that, and we take all the stuff there, and we move it to the end of time. And so, like, they're trimming the branches,
Okay.
It's like taking care of, taking care of a tree in which you just want one really long branch.
Okay.
So...
I'll go with it for now. Keep going.
So, then there is the thing, the threshold. That's the thing that, I don't understand, you don't understand, no one understands this. In which something happens, and in that moment, like, free will exists. Like, that is the moment in which he is like, we've crossed the threshold, and then the camera pulls back and he's like, okay, so I fibbed, so I don't actually know what's gonna happen now.
Yeah.
No idea what that is. As soon as that starts happening, then we physically see branches coming off of the sacred timeline. And it starts off, like a spiky halo. Like, there's one clear, circle, and then a bunch of things sticking out of it. But then as we see it again and again, like, as the episode goes on, it becomes way more like, like a web or a galaxy. Like, there's so many tiny little branches that are all, like, coming off of each other from different places and going into different directions, and it's just sort of all over the place.
Yeah.
And so, I think what this has to be saying is, there was just one timeline, whether it is, like, literally just one, or, it has to literally just be one. And then something happens, all the branches start coming off, and because the branches aren't being pruned, like, it just develops into a multiverse.
But okay, what does that mean for the ending? What does that do with the ending? One, I don't really believe that, but going along with it.
Yeah. The way I have to take the ending is the TVA is not outside of time. Like, the Citadel at the end of time is outside of time, but the TVA is still in time. So, like, they've killed, He Who Remains, and so just a different version of him just kind of stepped in.
Okay. Stepped
like, in the
where?
same way that,
like, inside the TVA?
Yeah. Like, if the up until this point we've had this vibe of the TVA isn't affected by time shenanigans, but I think this is a clear the TVA is affected by time shenanigans. So in the same way that he was willing to let Loki and Sylvie just take over, and I imagine that would have been they just go back to an earlier point in the TVA and say, all right, these two are the heads of the TVA. Forget about the timekeepers. It's these two.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like just another him did that.
Okay.
That is the that is the releasing the demons. There's if as soon as there are other hymns, one of them could just go to the TVA and say, go to the TVA and just rewrite their history. So now he's the one who founded them.
Gotcha. I guess I could see that. Yeah, I still have an issue with the previous stuff you were saying, but sure.
Mm-hmm.
That the TVA is outside of time.
I've got problems with this too. Yeah. I've got problems with it too, because, as you said, for instance, there's no way Doctor Strange could look at the million different timelines if there aren't timelines.
Right, that's exactly, the time, there's not been one sacred timeline. That cannot possibly exist unless the TV show Loki is taking place also in a Please Ever timeline, which would make the sacred timeline, again, not the only timeline.
Yeah.
But the thing that trips me up is
God.
The thing that trips me up is not Kang thinks that this is the only timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But he also thinks, given free will, there will be a million of me that are out to conquer.
Yeah.
When, as we've seen, if you give Loki a million chances, he will spend a million chances being a better person.
Mm.
We have yet to see any evil Loki.
Yeah. I guess that is the thing, though. If we He Who Reigns was there during the war, and even he, to his credit, he does describe it starting off as, given a bunch of me all figuring out how to access other timelines, we all did a lot of good. There's this period of prosperity that he talks about for a while before they get to, and then here are the conquerors who then fucked it all up, and then we started the multiversal war.
I feel he would. I mean, he also considers what he was doing good, though.
That is true.
So I'm not sure if I believe that.
Mm-hmm. Because I mentioned this during the episode, but it really hit me. If you live in a country, and that country is, determining the way in which every other country on the planet should work, and if any country, decides to do something different, they get bombed. It is peaceful in a sense, but it is also objectively evil.
Yeah.
And that is functionally what the Sacred Timeline is. It is still a multiversal war. The difference is there is one timeline that no one's gonna mess with, because as soon as anything branches off, they then destroy that entire, universe, that entire timeline that exists because of that branch.
Yeah. It is the ultimate conqueror thing to say, would you rather live in a world with a multiversal war where there are all these people fighting over the multiverse, or would you rather live in the one where I am in control of it and there's no possible way for anybody to beat me?
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing of would you rather a world in which there's a war, or would you rather a world in which I win? That is, that is the state before basically any war. Very few wars start off with a hard oh no, we accidentally are in a war.
Yeah.
It is the hey, I want to rule you, let me. Otherwise, I'm going to start a war.
Mm-hmm. And
that is exactly what it is. He is simply the person who won at the end of the war using the Alioth.
Yeah. And even if what he is doing was actually for the greater good, he would be pruning himself. But instead we know that's not the case. It's Loki's.
Yeah.
And why? I feel all the things that started to make sense, I don't know why they were the case anymore. Why Loki's?
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a strong question because again, this is a time, like the 30th was the 30th or the 31st century,
31st.
wherever it was, like, the 31st century, where he, comes into being as a scientist, exists on the sacred timeline. Like, it has to, because it's all time.
Yeah.
Like, the existence of something at the end of time necessitates everything, all the rest of time. So he has to still be coming into being an infinite number of times because time keeps on happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is he just aborting himself, or...
Well, I mean,
like,
clearly
even
not.
that would not be the case. Yeah, clearly not.
Because they say that the variants they take in the most are Loki's.
Mm-hmm.
If he was actually protecting the multiverse from himself, like he claims
Mm-hmm.
to be doing, it would be him.
Yeah, it would be. There's a lot of this guy. And, I mean, even that would be very easy to justify more than the Lokis. The Lokis are, no one understands why it's the Lokis. For him, like, all he would have to say is, like, yeah, it's the guy who invents how to travel, how to create new, timelines, or how to travel between timelines. That's bad for us. Obviously, we're going to get rid of this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really get now why any of the Loki specific stuff is Loki specific. And also,
Yeah,
it's not something where it's like, oh, well, they have arrested more variants of him, but, they all look different, so they wouldn't know or something like that. Because it's like, the Lokis that look like the Loki we know are so incredibly few and far in between. There is almost none, versus the vast majority of Lokis look completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they still know it's a Loki.
Yeah. And, like, that's for good reason, because, Lokis are tricky, so you would want to tell, like, your Minutemen beforehand, hey, he's gonna have illusion powers, or, like, something tricksy. In the same way, if the Minutemen were going after Kangs, it would be a big, like, yeah, it's the guy, it's a super genius who invents how to travel between timelines. You're gonna have to watch out for that.
Yeah.
So you're right, like, it cannot be happening, so, like, what in the world?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like so many. What the hell did bombing the sacred timeline do? That was so unimportant to the entire show.
That's so weird. It's so strange, because I feel like, narratively, if you wanted to have Sylvie bomb the sacred timeline, like, you'd have to rewrite a lot, to be fair. But, like, if you wanted the base concept to make sense, that should have been the end. It should have been, we don't know what Sylvie's plan is until the end, and then she does that, and then, the He Who Remains goes, oh crap, I wasn't expecting that, and now I can't see any further.
Yeah.
Like, that would have made it important. Whereas her bombing the sacred timeline is not important in the grand scheme of things. Like, we never have a single moment of the Minutemen, like, reacting or saying, like, yeah, we were out of people, or we can't handle it because of all the stuff we're doing. Like, even like a throwaway like that would have made enough sense, even if it wouldn't be satisfactory. But we never got a single throwaway line that talks about that.
If she didn't bomb the sacred timeline, nothing in the entire show would be different.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
No. Why did they give Loki psychic powers? Why did they give Loki psychic powers? Him and Sylvie.
Please. Yeah, if you, the viewer, are watching this and Loki does do that in the movies, let me know, because...
Yeah, please. I don't remember any time where
like,
he's ever done that.
Yeah, and, like, it's fundamentally different, even from, when Sylvie does the, like, green smoke throw. Because, like, I'd define that as something a bit different. I don't know what that is either, to be fair. But it's different from the outright telekinetic, like, stop or pull or push.
I mean, Sylvie's also a new character. They can do whatever the fuck they want with her.
Yeah.
But, like, why does our Loki know how to do psychic push and pull stuff? And even then, I would accept it a little bit more if it was, like, he can pull Sylvie or, like, push a desk out of the way and stuff like that. But the building that's the most, like, why has he not used this before? That's so strong.
Yeah. it's so weird that that's the thing they kind of just threw in without talking about it. But they put so much effort onto the whole, like, he has no idea how you would enchant someone. When that was, like, using the power of the staff, at the very least, that was, like, his main deal in Avengers.
What he did, yeah.
Yeah, like, I fully buy the concept of, it's different and he can't do it, but, he acts as if when Sylvie does it, it's a big, like, how in the world can you do that? When it's like, you did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like... What are the reset charges? What are they? What are they doing?
Like, the best answer we have to that is from what they've told us, that they teleport all the stuff that is wrong in that timeline to the place where all the Lokis were. And then the timeline continues on normally.
Well, it can't continue on normally because then that stuff's got to come back again.
Yeah.
Like anything they touch gets destroyed, and then assumingly they're resetting the timeline back to the beginning of time. I don't what.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if it is it would make more sense if it was just a fundamental. It destroys the timeline. Yeah. That is functionally what you're doing. If there is a physical branch, like if you treat it like a tree and there is a branch coming off and then you prune the branch, then there's no longer, that it no longer is there.
Yeah, I think that has to be what it is implying. It is just destroying that entire timeline. Where it never happened.
That's the case. But if that's the case, and I do agree with you, that has to be what it is, but if that's the case, then why did we get the explicit image of, like more than once, the reset charge going off, and it just erases the stuff that was changed, but this, like the ground and whatnot is not erased.
Yeah.
Because that implies that, that not everything's being removed.
Oh,
and I don't
know
why narratively you would do that, because of course, like, it's still horrible. It's still something where we're supposed to look at that and go like, yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So why isn't it just destroying it all?
Yeah, I got no option. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
This is truly, it's annoying because Loki feels like the kind of series where, it should confuse you, and then at the end, it should give you the thing that makes you go like, oh, I get it. It was just that one thing. Okay, holy crap, that was the trick. That was the grand reveal. But there was no real grand reveal.
I know, I talked myself into so much...
And now it's still confusing.
I talked myself so much into it making sense because it was the Loki behind it all, and that made everything make sense. But no, I don't know why. And why not go after the Avengers? Why not go after Thanos?
I feel like they put in so much stuff, like, also the subtle, like, this is all a lie, it's all a trick. Like, yes, that does apply to, what actually was going on.
Yeah.
But in the way that, you could say that in a lot of things. You could say that in, like, Black Panther to some degree. Whereas, like, the way they were framing it all felt, very low-key. But this is so not that. Like, it was truly some dude who just shows up and is like, okay, so I'm the mastermind, and let me just exposit the whole deal that you have had no leads on and no clue about. Here's just this enormous thing. Like, for someone who truly doesn't know anything about, like, with the comic stuff, all I could, default to is, okay, I know, I'm familiar with Kang, I know about Kang bullshit, it's, even then, there's some explanation, there's some level of, here is the explanation we're using for now, or this makes enough sense.
Yeah.
Or we're not going to talk about how this doesn't make any sense, because that's not the narratively important thing. But this is a situation in which the time stuff is insanely narratively important, and this is, like, the only thing that is really talking about it in this way, because, Endgame was very lightly touching on time stuff in a very, like, we're just gonna not talk about that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just so unsatisfying on multiple different levels, which is why it's also, tricky to talk about, because it's like, there's so many things that have disappointed me on different levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say this is insanely disappointing. Like, what a crazy... What did Ravonna do? What'd you say?
Like, where did Ravonna go? What was she doing?
I mean, just truly one of the most disappointing finales I've ever seen. Like, a finale should wrap up what's been going on in the season. Obviously, you're not going to wrap up what's going on in the whole show, but you have to at least wrap up what's been happening in the season.
Yeah.
And this just feels like there should just be another episode. Like, this should not have been season 1, season 2. This should have just been one season. Like, all the episodes back to back. There's not a good enough cliffhanger. Like, truly, there's nothing that makes me want to watch season 2.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like a cliffhanger. Like, as you said, it feels like the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
Like, we just have a bunch of stuff that's just hanging. And
like, this is the ultimate...
That this,
I don't want to watch a whole other season. I want to watch one more episode. But, like, I don't want to watch a whole other season. There's not enough here for a whole other season, it feels like.
Yeah. And, like, if this is the thing that, you know, allows us to have a multiverse, and then you're going to do all this other multiversal stuff in Phase 4, like, I would have wanted to end that on, like, holy crap, Loki was really good, and it did all this stuff, and, like, we're feeling the implications of the new status quo. Whereas that's not what this feels like. This feels like just, okay, and there is a multiverse, and whatever Loki's doing, it's probably happening as all this other stuff is happening.
Yeah, it's...
Like, it just feels unfinished.
It's so weird to do Loki season 1, which ends on a... You know, who knows what's going on, and then we're going to get a whole bunch of multiversal stuff, and then we're going to find out the answer way later. Who knows when season 2's coming out.
Yeah, because as far as I know, this is not a, like, you know, it's not a split season, they did it all, and they're, like, doing a first half and a second half. It is just, they did season 1, and that's it, and a season 2 has been announced.
Yeah.
It feels so unlike the other, you know, the other 2 Phase 4 TV shows, in that those were both a clear, like, you know, we have a new status quo for these characters, and there's so much stuff we could be doing with these characters. We tell, you know, we could do another season of stuff, even if it's not literally this story for WandaVision, obviously. Or we could, like, go into the movies and do stuff there. But, like, I don't, like, they can't do anything else with the TVA and Loki until Loki season 2 in my mind, because we're in such a weird place with it.
Like, there's no way that Multiverse of Madness or Far From Home are gonna be relevant to this in any way.
Yeah.
Like, they both just gotta be Doctor Strange doing some shit.
Yeah, because it truly does bother me that we don't have a new status quo. Like, we don't know what the Minutemen are doing. In another series, I'd be fine with the mystery of, like, and what are they, like, what's the new status? What does Kang, you know, use them for? Are they just time cops now? Are they, like, you know, extra evil? But with this, it's like...
I mean, and it's just like, one version of them. Like, assumingly, there's a million TVAs as well.
Yeah, like, because if there's not a million TVAs, then that raises the question of, like, how in the world did a Kang take over? And, you know, like, why doesn't Mobius know? Like, that's a clear, like, rewriting time indicator to me.
Especially,
so
like...
there's got to be other TVAs.
I feel like you give me a gun and I could defeat Kang. Like, not the Kang we have at the end here, but any of the Kangs that would be taking over. I feel like, give me a gun and I could do it. Like, their technology is just, we have a baton that can send you to another dimension.
Yeah, the fact that we saw one of the Kangs using the baton, or, you know, like, you know, in the in the, like, illustrative thing,
like, in the multiversal war,
so
the only weapon all of them have is the baton, and, like, he doesn't have anything else.
That's so weird, because, you know, having some, like, comic bias and some, like, cartoon bias and whatnot, I think of Kang as the big, like, he just has a bunch of shit you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And you know, it's hard to deal with it because it's the big, like, yeah, this feels like the guy who conquered time. Whereas this feels like a bunch of guys with sticks that zap you.
Yeah. And, yeah, I just, like, the fact that even, like, what was the multiversal war? Like, he's so afraid of this multiversal war that was just putting people in another dimension. And, like, that's not as bad as, like, putting them in another dimension and killing them. Like, one timeline is nobody seemingly was dying, and then the timeline we're in now is so many people are dying, innocent timelines are being pruned, so much more chaos and death, and yet, like, this is supposed to be the better one. Because, like, the whole, I don't remember what its name is, but the purple smoke monster, he doesn't get that till after the multiversal war.
Yeah, the Eliath.
Yeah, the Eliath. So after he conquers every timeline, he then murders all of them, like, in one fell swoop, assumingly, by just putting that in the void space and letting it kill them all. But, yeah, like, before that, the multiversal war seems to be like, also, like, are they still in that void? Like, are they alive down there? Who knows?
Who knows?
And it feels pretty dangerous to be throwing these people in the end of time, where all this is.
Yeah. It feels so weird to me that we never saw someone, being killed with the stick. Like, as a clear, confirmed, like, they can kill. Like, all we see is that, they get teleported. Which feels so strange for, like, setting the stakes, especially with then showing it during the multiversal war. Like, if I wanted to increase the stakes there, I would have definitely just had them with guns or something.
Yeah. Also, have we seen him do the... You put the, like, collar on, and then your time gets, like, rewound? Has that happened in anywhere but the TVA or the Citadel?
I don't
think so.
I feel like it did in episode 1, because I think they, like, I think they did it at the Renaissance Fair with Loki. And also, when they captured Loki, they did the, like, slow his time down while they punched him.
Yeah, and they put the collar on him after that. But, yeah, so they did do that. So they do have, like, I can punch you and make your time go wonky. But it didn't really affect him that much. Like, it was supposed to be like, and now you're feeling all this pain at, every, single second that's passing. But, didn't really bother him.
Yeah, it was just a bad punch.
Yeah. Just got right back up. But yeah, not afraid of the Kangs, the multiverse, or anything like that. They made them very, like, they're just a bunch of dudes with batons that don't kill you.
Yeah, and just math-wise, like, I would rather have a multiverse where there are a bunch of Kangs doing some real bad stuff, but also there are, like, so many other universes where the Kangs are being fought by the Avengers, or they just, haven't been born yet, or they're doing whatever. Like, that is a truly infinite amount of life and possibility across the multiverse, as opposed to the Sacred Timeline situation, which, obviously I know that's bad. It's meant to be bad, but still. Like, I'm thinking about Loki trying to protect the Sacred Timeline. And that feels so insanely un-Loki.
Yeah.
Like, that is, like, fundamentally, like, only the people who exist in that timeline can exist. It is so insanely oppressive. And, like, even if you have one more branch, you have doubled the number of people in all of existence who can exist.
And yeah, like, if you are in a multiversal scenario, there is more chances for there to be people that are fighting back and, winning against Kang, versus if you have the one Sacred Timeline, you have the, there's no way anybody can beat me, and I'm just going to be the Supreme Conqueror and everything like that. And I think that boils down to why I am not a bit, like, why I think we're both having such a big struggle of, like, yes, the Sacred Timeline is supposed to be bad. We understand that. But also, I don't think the show is getting that idea across very well.
Yeah.
And, like, I think this portrayal of Kang is... it sucks. It's just straight up, I don't like it. It sucks. And that's not like this is a bad Kang. I just think, like, this is a... even if this wasn't supposed to be... because they never said the name Kang and everything like that, and, like...
yeah,
that's also the MCU. Like, we're just not gonna really do the thing because we might be able to do it later or whatever. I guess that's the opposite of the MCU. The MCU is no, we're just gonna name this random fucking thing that character.
Yeah, I truly wonder, like, how people felt about this with less context at all, because, like, just having to say all the other He Who Remains is just immediately makes me feel even worse.
But yeah, like, regardless of if this is Kang or not, or whatever, this is not a good portrayal of the Ultimate Conqueror.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so not interesting. It's so like too wacky, too I am the being at the end of time and everything like that, when it should just be like what the TVA is, where yes, it's wacky time stuff, but it's also very clear, like systematic bureaucracy type stuff.
Yeah, because I can't imagine, even if he is being driven crazy by, all his existence, there's still no part of him that makes me go, I get why he made the TVA the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, in the same way that, Mobius really likes those jet skis. Like, there's no part of the TVA that makes me go, now that I've seen He Who Remains, I get that he really likes this architecture even, or, like, this period of time, or, like, this type of display. And so, like, you can feel his presence here now. I don't get any of that.
No idea. Why the variants? Why the variants? Like, why hire the variants? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, disappointing reveal of a final villain.
Yeah, like, I am a bit of a sucker for the concept of a villain who is, like, very difficult to understand, or very detached from the world, or, like, very alien. So, like, I wanted to like him when I saw what they were doing, but I can't. I genuinely can't. Like, he feels too Phase 3 for me.
Yeah, if they wanted to do that, I would have rather them do that rather than we're going to do a Kang sort of thing. I wouldn't want it to be a human sort of thing.
Yeah.
I would want it to be an actual fucking timeless alien being thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just too, hey, it's me, Joe.
Yeah, like, I really liked so many of the other theories that, like, whether it was the Loki thing, or whether it was, like, when you brought up the idea of maybe there was a fourth timekeeper, like, maybe there were actual timekeepers, but that's definitely just not a thing.
No. And yeah, I love the relationship between Loki and Sylvie for the whole show, and then I just didn't really care about it this episode. Even last episode we were disappointed by, but the highlight of it was them. They've been fantastic. But then this was just very, like, I don't know. I get like, we're doing like the Loki would rather, like, our Loki would rather control all the timelines than have a scenario in which Sylvie could get hurt. But like, I feel like what he told them is kind of just what we already knew.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't learn anything new, and yet they were acting like, like the big struggle was between, is he lying or not? And it's just like, why is this the struggle?
Yeah. It doesn't change the problem.
Yeah. Like, they're arguing about something that I don't care about, because I don't care if he's lying or not. It changes nothing.
Yeah. And it does strike me as just so weird, again, on a narrative level, that episode 4 ends with the big, like, Loki and Sylvie's love could change everything. And we don't really culminate in anything like that. Like, the end game is, the two of them are facing off, and their love is not a part of, the end of it. Like, it drives Loki's motivation for why he wants to, like, save Sylvie. Sure. But, I mean, A, it doesn't really quite work out, which immediately feels like it deflates it. And B, like, it doesn't change Sylvie's motivation. Like, the entire time, she has a very clear purpose that is very understandable of, you took away my entire life. I've spent all this time surviving apocalypses, having, the worst existence. And now I'm going to kill you as vengeance for that, and also because this is all very fucked up. And that is extremely static, and it's good in the sense that, like, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
But then, there's nothing too complicated or make it feel different. It's really just, okay, if you're going to stop me, I'm not going to kill you, I'm going to put you somewhere else, and then I'm going to do the thing I wanted to do the whole time that you also knew I wanted to do the whole time.
And yeah, like, I don't know what changed Loki's mind. I guess it is just realizing it there in the moment. But it's just also like
even...
Did we need this whole long talk of this episode with He Who Remains when we already know all this?
Yeah.
Like, the only thing we get is, like, his backstory, which is, like, fair. But everything else, they just spent so long going over stuff that we already know.
Yeah, it was a big putting the pieces together situation that we didn't need, when there's so many other pieces that we actually did need to put together.
Yeah. And like, ah.
And yeah, I wish that, Loki had also just been directed a little better. The character, I mean, not the show. Also the show a tiny bit, but the character, in the sense that I wanted this final conflict with Sylvie to feel more, like a culmination.
Yeah.
Like, this is the Loki that always loses. This is the one that, always screws up. This is, this is his chance to win, or this is his chance to protect the person he cares about. Or, like, even if we had a little bit of the glimmer of him, like, admitting, also, I would like to be King of Time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, any of that would have added more to his character. It would have made me care about him more. It would have created this layered feeling of, like, I see all the bits that got us to this point.
Yeah.
But I don't get that from this ending.
From episode 1, it was the very, like, okay, so what we're doing in this series and what we've been doing with all of them so far, redefining what makes Wanda Wanda, what makes Vision, what makes Falcon or Captain America who he is, what makes Bucky who he is. And then we get into this in the first episode. It's like, okay, this is going to be about what makes Loki, getting into all that. And then by the end of it, I don't know what they were trying to say. I don't know what the point is.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thesis statement of the show is.
Yeah. Unlike any other show, it really just has such enormous, this is the penultimate episode energy.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like the pieces are still there. We can still move them around. They could still say something interesting were this not the end of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
But we just didn't get there. And it's like, it just feels like a big inhale without the exhale.
Exactly. I can't believe... I just can't get over where we ended. It's just the most, like... It's not really a cliffhanger for a season. It's definitely a cliffhanger for an episode. I mean, it's wild that this whole season, they don't answer... any of the plot stuff that's being brought up doesn't end. It all ends on a right before the end note. Whether it be Loki and Sylvie, or whatever happened with, Sylvie actually killing him, or Ravonna and Mobius, or B-15.
Even like C-15.
Yeah, it's just like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even like Kang's character is like, I don't really feel anything because it feels like we still have yet to like really see any of it. We're gonna get that more later on, but
yeah, like even the end with the statue doesn't feel good to me because like if you wanted to hammer home the idea of they did screw up, or like this is gonna be one hell of a stepping stone, like we should have seen an evil version of him in the flesh instead of just the illustration like things he was like creating.
Yeah,
even that would have made it given us a clear like, oh, so that was the nice one, this is the evil one, oh boy, I see the difference now, as opposed to just here's a statue, he runs the TVA now.
And I don't get any of the time shit at all. I don't understand a lick of it. And I was hoping there'd be at least a little bit more understanding of how this shit works.
I think I get it a little more, but at the same time, like, it is fundamentally broken. With my understanding of how it works, there's so many things that are just, like, loose and unexplained or ambiguous, or they just straight up don't make sense.
I think that's what I'm getting at.
I don't want to say that I
could understand it. I can understand what they're trying to do, but it doesn't make sense with what we've done in the MCU up to this point already, or even just stuff they say in the series itself. Like, the time reset charges don't seem to match up with how they talk about it. I don't get that. I don't understand how there can be one sacred timeline when we've seen Doctor Strange look into the multiverse. I don't understand how any of that could be the case.
It's so weird because also, like, the fix to it, to me, felt like a foregone conclusion. It felt like a slam dunk of, we have, like, however it was going to happen, we rewrote the things, either we brought in more timelines or we branched off this timeline, there's a multiverse now, and also the rules of time are different, and now we can just say these are the rules now, and they are like, in that way we can explain the retroactive stuff as that was different. Don't think about it. Like, I genuinely thought that's what we were going to do, because it seems like such an obvious, like, we weren't thinking about it before, now we're thinking about it, now we have some ground rules. But instead, everything is even more unexplained and difficult to understand than it was at the start, which is bonkers.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it. This show made more sense in the early episodes, and with each sequential episode, it's made less and less sense. I mean, still, number one, why Loki's? Why Loki's? What's the point? What does he have against Loki's?
Yeah.
Like, that should have been the easiest thing to answer. Why did neither of them ask that?
Yeah.
Why us? What did we do to you? Why are we so special?
It's so weird to have a, Deus Ex Machina situation in that, like, you have the person at the end of the time, the person with all the answers, and we don't spend a lot of time talking to that person and saying, like, okay, now what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, that is the author's perfect move of, I'm just gonna tell you all this other stuff I can't fit in any other way.
Yeah.
And it would have made total sense with this guy, because, again, they're at the end of time. He has infinite time to say anything. He could have just, like, he spent so long just going on monologues and eating an apple that he could have just spent on, like, this wouldn't have been good writing, but he could have just also just cleared up some of this stuff. He could have just said, out of the ether, by the way, this is how the time charges work. And it would have at least, like, added more substance than what we got.
When he uses his little thing on the desk to show what happened, that could have just been a chance to show some of that stuff. Like, rather than showing the little statue shitty thing on the desk, do a thing where you're using a fucking a screen.
Also, this is the smallest complaint, but in the moment I was thinking, like, why did he make the statue so tiny? Like, if I were sitting where Loki was, I wouldn't be able to see them. I'd ask, like, I don't know what that is. What is that? Is that you?
Oh, I went into this so excited for, like, okay, not at all what I thought the show was going to be about. We're doing time shit, cool. We're doing the bureaucracy and, like, how fucked up the TVA is as a concept and all that. And then we've gone nowhere with it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we watched 6 episodes of nothing.
That is how it feels. Like, there's so much that it also doesn't help that a lot of what felt really compelling about some of the middle episodes was that feeling of what's a lie, what's real, what is a Loki trick, is all of episode 3 an illusion? And to have, to realize at the end of it, no, there weren't a whole lot of illusions, really. There were just some blatant lies that we knew from the start were lies, like, the timekeepers.
Yeah,
So
I think, like, 10 minutes into the first episode, we basically know what we know in the 6th episode, with the exception of knowing that the people in the TVA weren't actually created, which we were idiots and didn't even realize what they were saying at that time anyway. Like, when we first watched the first episode, and like, they said created, and I was like, oh shit, created? And you're like, no, they meant the TVA was created. And I was like, oh, okay. So, that didn't even, like, that real wasn't even big for us.
Big dumb.
But that was us being dumb.
But even then, why, like, how do I put this? Even that drama that, pushes so much of the series along, I don't know why this Kang would brainwash these variants, as opposed to even just, like, recruiting people from the multiverse and saying, hey, do you want a higher purpose? Like, do you want to try and fix time? Like, that's something that, a lot of people would jump to. Do you want to just, not have to worry about capitalism anymore? Do you want to just, like, live in this place where you got basically everything?
I mean, like, this is going wrong. If someone said, do you not want to live in capitalism anymore? And I said yes, and they robbed me the TVA, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I should have seen that was a trick question.
So, I lied to you.
There's no money, but you do only get one lunch.
There's no reason for supply and demand to exist. And there is no, we'll increase the supply. There's just demand. Sorry about that.
But yeah, I think I should have said this at the beginning of all this, but for a mystery show to work, you gotta have the plot mysteries and the character mysteries. And we don't really have character mysteries in this show.
Yeah.
Like, Ravonna was the only one, and we kind of got that settled, and the character mystery was just, she's bullheaded. Like, there's no deeper secret meaning, there's no, she didn't know anything specific, it's just, she wanted to believe that it all is for her reason.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't classify it as a character mystery. And aside from that, there is no other character. The big character mystery is, were they all created? No. And that's it. And we get that halfway through. I guess, like, because it's not a character mystery to say, who is the man behind the curtain? That's a plot mystery.
Yeah.
A character mystery is, why is this character doing this thing? Why is this character, hold these motivations or whatever? Like, Sylvie, I guess, the variant was our character mystery. But even then, we didn't... If you don't know who the character is, that cannot be a character mystery.
Yeah.
And then we don't really learn anything about Sylvie, specifically. I would say the only interesting information we get there is that she was told she was adopted. But aside from that, we don't really know anything else about her.
Yeah.
That she lived in a bunch of apocalypses, but that's also, I would say, a plot mystery. But yeah, so there's nothing...
Wait, is it? I mean, she did that, she just did that on purpose. Like, that's not a mystery at all. That's just a thing she did.
Yeah, I guess it's a plot thing, I guess. Because it was the, where is she hiding? Oh, she's hiding in apocalypses.
True, yeah.
But that's not a, like, why is she hiding in apocalypses? Like, and again, that would be a plot thing, too. It's that there wasn't a personal reason for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no, like, I'm doing this because of a personal motivation. It is, except for, like, Ravonna, which is, like, again, the only, like, character mystery we have. It's like, why is she doing what she's doing? How much does she know? Blah, blah, blah. And then we learn that stuff. But yeah, the Ravonna stuff is really all the character mystery that we get. And especially even, like, our own Loki that we're following, there's no real, like, character mystery there. Even all the times we thought there was character mystery, there wasn't. It's just, it's what it was.
Yeah.
And so...
I do... Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, just like, again, if you don't have those character mysteries to hold you over, like, the lack of any plot information is just like, what's the point?
Yeah, because this also isn't the type of mystery where, like, you can make a spreadsheet. I think I joked about that in the first episode, of like, oh, I'll find a way to, like, tabulate everything down. But that's not the kind of thing this was. It was just like, here are a bunch of loose plot points that don't really tie together. So there's no point in, like, doing the big, this ties to this, and this is connected to this, and this is how this rule works. It was a lie, but this is the way it actually works.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough there to dig into it, which feels like, what they're trying to go for. A big, like, the rules and the situation is so complicated that that's what you're focusing on instead of the plot or the characters. That's not how it played out.
No.
Also, I'm just also just not very into the concept of, like, I know what the ultimate excuse for this would be, which is, well, the reason why they were going after Loki's and why everything happened is because, of course, He Who Reigns said at the very end, I set it all up because this is the way it has to be.
But
which is
that
also not an
an
answer.
But that would explain why he was going after our Loki and Sylvie.
I mean, I think you could, like, stretch that back to say, well, if he's outside of time, then he could have had it be like that from the start, as a, like, we always go after Lokis because I want to eventually get to the point where we get this Loki and this Sylvie. But even then, we didn't, because he said outright he didn't know it was going to be this Loki and this Sylvie.
Yeah.
He just knew.
Which, how does that work if he knows everything? If he knew they were going to be there... He even knew what they were going to say, but he didn't know it was going to be them too? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
How does King Crimson work? I need to know! Oh, my God. Well... I thought it was going to be more interesting after this to do a, like, where do we rank Loki among the other Phase 4 shows so far? But I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's below most of the other shows as well.
Yeah, like, if we're including, like, Netflix stuff and everything, yeah, for sure. Because, the Netflix stuff I really like because the mysteries in it are very simple, but if it's the same thing, like, if a lot of the mysteries in the Netflix series were just only that, like, what the plot mystery was, it would be very disappointing because it's so very obvious most of the time. Or just not that big of a thing. But what makes them so great is the character mystery stuff. And, slowly figuring out that shit. And also just everything else. But just speaking of the mystery stuff.
Yeah. Like, for a series with such a tight cast, like, we should have gotten more with each member of the cast. Or if we're going to tighten it even further, like, how do I put it? Like, we got a lot of Loki on screen, but we just, as you said, we didn't really have any main character Loki mysteries. We didn't have a whole lot of, like, big depth. We were seeing things that weren't there.
I mean, it might be blasphemous to say, but I think what I've seen of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is better than this. Like, in terms of, like, the reason why I hate Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as much as I do is because out of every one of these shows that's like this in the MCU, and just like this in general, it's the most pro-fascist show I have ever seen. And, like, again, you can compare that to Agent Carter. Agent Carter is also a show where they are in the SSR, which is basically S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. And it's like, SSR is pretty fucked up. And Carter works outside of that. And, breaks the rules where they need to be. Like Captain America did. And then... you have something like this, which is the TVA is fucked up and we're going against it and they're clearly fascists and all this stuff. And just like that's just been the case throughout the entire MCU from the start to finish. Again, you've got the three big ones, aliens. What is it? It was aliens something, and then I said military, but I can't remember what the second one was.
It was like Aliens Magic Army.
No, because I said I brought up the army thing. Theirs was aliens, sorcerers, or aliens, wizards, and something. Wizards being the third one.
Alien. Wait. Oh, what was it? Aliens, sorcerers. What? Oh god damn!
It was aliens blank wizards. Wizards was the third beat. Anyway, not important. What are
androids?
Androids. Aliens, androids, wizards. Which again, that's why that's why I brought up the aliens, androids army.
Yeah.
But either way, that has been the big thing throughout the entire MCU. Is like it is very non-pro-fascist for a series, movies of whatever that are funded by the military, but still every time they are very anti-fascist, and yet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. super pro-fascist, really, really in your face about it, constantly things that the movies will show is like, this is really fucked up, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes, we're just gonna do that now. Like, I will never stop mentioning that the Hydra thing in the Winter Soldier, of Hydra having the thing that was tracking everybody that was in any way a danger to them, so that way they could go off and kill them, is just what S.H.I.E.L.D. does casually in the show. It is super pro-fascist, and that's why I hate it. But as far as writing goes outside of that, its mystery stuff is much better than this. Which is sad to say.
Yeah.
But we're gonna watch season 2, but I'm not that... I'm not excited to watch season 2. I'm excited to watch one more episode. Because I feel like that's all it needs.
Yeah. But, it's rough, because I can't trust this creative team anymore. As opposed to, like, any of the other things that we are following, where it's a very clear, like, they know what they're doing. I don't think they know what they're doing with this
I don't think they know what they're doing. No, I don't trust them at all.
I feel like they just got a post-it note from Kevin Feige that said, do the multiverse, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll get that in there.
But yeah, compared to the writing in the other two, this is leagues below. Like, there's a lot of good
Yeah.
writing in this at times, but overall, oof. Overall, this feels like how I felt at the end of Civil War, where it was like, in watching it, Zemo's plan was cool. After the fact, it's like, this is bullshit. It makes no sense, and I don't know how anybody wrote this. And that's how I feel here. It's like, I had faith that it was going to make sense in the end, and now that we're at the end, it makes way less sense.
Yeah. I get ya.
Yeah, I'm curious how other people, feel about this show. Please let us know in the comments how you guys felt about the show.
Please,
especially
please.
if you really like the show. I do want to see it from your perspective. Like, what about it that you really like? Season 2 isn't out yet, so if you have a different understanding of how this time stuff works or whatever, or like problems that we had, please bring those up. Set us straight.
Yeah.
And we'll
We
talk
can
about
move
that
up.
stuff next time.
We forgot about the multiversal war. I fully believe that both of us could just not be understanding what the show is saying.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I think that's also, I don't know what thematically the show is trying to say. What is its thesis statement? I don't know.
Yeah, like, it's the fundamental difference between a show with bad guys who are fascist and a show that is saying something about that. Like, you can include, like, TVA is bad, but if you don't, or they're the lesser evil compared to something else, or even, like, is that true, is that a lie? But if you don't really do anything with that, then it's like, well, you just kind of said a thing, or you kind of put that in there.
Like, this feels like it has less to say than even, like, the, Phase 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I think that's, we've said it multiple times, but this just feels like a Phase 3 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like if this was a movie, I would probably like it a lot more, because it dragged too much for not giving us anything.
Yeah, like, the thing that I have been saying over and over again about the Disney Plus series has been that, it's exactly like the movies, but with the strengths of a TV show as well. Like, you don't feel any budget differences, you don't feel any, like, characterization problems. It is a clear, like, just, it's like an MCU movie, but, even better, and also longer, and also, there's more to, they're using their time way more wisely.
Yeah.
But that is not what Loki does at all. It has the weaknesses of a Phase 3 movie and the weaknesses of a Phase 3 TV show.
Yeah.
Including feeling like it might not be canon, even though I know it is.
Seriously! Yeah, I really thought this was going to create way more discussions about, like, what does it mean to be canon and all that stuff, and, like, all that talk just doesn't really feel... Again, this feels like the comics where it's just like, whatever is canon is whatever the fuck you want to be canon. Nothing's canon anymore. There's no canon, there's no not canon. But yeah, if I'm gonna enjoy season 2, I'm gonna need a lot more stuff that is fun. For the love of God, give me more fun, and give me more wacky scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, this was so serious for the first 10 minutes compared to the rest of the series is like night and day.
It truly is. Like, I can't believe that, on the planet of Lokis, we didn't just have, like, one with a casual infinity gauntlet or something. Like, presumably one without the stones because they would work there. But even then, they could have just said, this place is also like the TVA where the stones don't work. So now we just have, like, a Loki walking around with Mjolnir, or one with the infinity gauntlet where it's just like, yeah, it's pointless though. They can't do shit.
Yeah. I don't know. You know what? This makes me more excited for the new Thor. Just because I don't know why, this just makes me go, like, this got me salivating for that like, Thorness to stuff, that Asgardian stuff, and it didn't satiate. And so now I'm excited for Thor, because it's like, now I'm itching for that.
Yeah. I have two theories as to what's the threshold was.
Okay.
One of which is, like, maybe Wanda. I mean, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
But
I don't know
like,
how time works, so they were outside the sacred timeline.
Yeah. Like, I get why the TVA has a time limit on stuff happening, just because, it's still arbitrary in a sense, but whatever. I'll buy that. I don't know how He Who Remains could be stunned by something that happened that then went like, oh, and now I don't know what's happening next.
Yeah.
And like, the Wanda thing is just a straight up like, I had that as a theory before. We didn't get anything else. We still don't know what Nexus could possibly mean in reference to that.
Yeah.
So that's just thrown out there. The other thing is like, if this is happening parallel to like No Way Home or Multiverse of Madness or like something else that's doing multiversal stuff, if it is like Doctor Strange punches time, and then we see like, oh, that's the moment when He Remains was like, oh no, Doctor Strange punched time, I can't see anymore.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I can't think of a way to make this satisfying.
What is time?
What is time?
He came from the 31st century.
Mm-hmm.
So Doctor Strange punches time. What does that mean? If he punches the time and the space and the multi.
Mm-hmm.
How come from 31st century but no a time only up to that time outside of sacred timeline time? Brain hurt.
Oh boy. Oh man, I can't even do my classic patented everyone loves it. What do you think's gonna happen next in X or Y or Z?
Just thinking that.
I think we've both, I think, said enough about how we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen in Loki season 2.
Yeah.
But also, like, what else could, branch specifically off of this? Like, where else are we gonna get a TVA mention? I mean, maybe Multiverse of Madness, but even then, like, that feels too big for them to do in the movie.
What are they gonna mention? We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened. We don't know anything. Them saying TVA isn't gonna mean anything to me because I'm just like, oh, I still don't know what that is.
Because that's the thing, like, we've complained before about the MCU, like, movies doing the big, like, we do the movie, and then the movie is over, status quo, a span of time happens in which the status quo changes, and then we pick up on the next movie, after that point, after that ambiguous point. But you can't do that with this season, and only this season, really. With anything else, we have an endpoint of, and now we can have ambiguous time. But you can't do ambiguous time after this, because we don't have a status quo, because we don't have a clear delineation of, and this is what the TVA is doing, and this is what Loki's doing, and this is what, the leader of the TVA now is doing. Like, we don't have a clear thing to expect to be going on while everything else happens.
Yeah.
And that, it's so infuriating because that is, I think, that is part of the secret sauce of what makes the MCU work as a universe. Is, even if it isn't written, perfectly, at the very least, you have the big, like, and now I don't have to think about the Guardians, they're out there doing Guardian missions. And I can just think about that there. But I cannot leave this on, and then Loki is standing in a room wondering what's happening.
Yeah, like... I assume when we start, we're gonna start in the exact same place and everything.
I feel like we have to, like, especially because time stuff. We can't just end it. We can't just start it. A while later, where Loki's like, it's just part of the grind now.
Yeah.
I don't care about Sylvie anymore.
This should have been a movie. Should have been a movie.
Should have been a movie.
Should have been a movie. There's no benefits to this being a TV show. They didn't even do like none of the points where an episode ended were TV show-esque.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It just kind of ends, and then it's just like, oh, they just ran out of tape.
And, like, apart from, like, the set design, there wasn't a lot of the directorial stuff that we praised. Like, there's the spinning the camera around while moving forward shots that we thought was really cool in episodes 5 and 6.
Yeah.
But that's really the one thing they had. And even, I mean, now I'm just not into the series. But even that in episode 6, it's like, well, why? You could have just saved that as the one cool thing you did in episode 5.
Yeah,
you did it again for no reason.
And it was cool in episode 5. But then, as we said, that shot made the episode worse because it set expectations.
It was too good.
It was like, oh, we're about to do some cool shit. And then they didn't do cool shit.
It feels like a different director came in and was like, hey, here's a really cool thing I wanted to do. And then they left. And everyone else was like, oh, man, well, I guess we'll just keep that in because it's really cool. And maybe we'll rip that off next time.
And again, they're going into small nitpicks now. But, like, we talked so much about in WandaVision and in Falcon and Winter Soldier about how fucking good the directing is and how good the lighting is and stuff like that. And just the lighting in this doesn't look good. It just looks generic, and the directing looks generic, and it just looks like a movie. Like one of the MC movies, which are so like MCU-ified, versus like WandaVision and Falcon, you know, got to actually look unique.
Yeah, like, they weren't doing, like, a spin on it, really. Like, we brought up the Doctor Who thing, and that might have been a bit of the DNA in there. Like, if someone says that, I'll fully buy it. But even then, it's not Doctor Who enough for me to go, like, okay, here's, like, you know, the really... Yeah. Like, if they leaned more into it, if it was more like, you know, the sets are a little hokey, or, like, the technology is hokey, but it's still really powerful, or, you know... anything that was more like that leaned into the vibe... You know, it still wouldn't save the series, but I'd still understand what they're doing more. It'd be more of a, like, you took this take on it. I can respect that.
Yeah.
But this was so just, you know, middle of the road in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not very thought-provoking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very discussion-worthy. I get why I didn't see a lot of people talking about this show.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting, again, that we had the reverse, you know, things like, I saw, you know, I saw people talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier, not nearly as much as WandaVision, but WandaVision was also the very first Phase 4 show, and the only other series I've seen people talk about WandaVision as much for have been Miss Marvel and Moon Knight, which aren't even out yet, and those are also new characters. So, like, I get that as well.
Yeah.
And, yeah, with Loki, I saw literally nobody talking about it at any point.
Now that we're done, I can say that the things I saw were definitely Loki jumping out of the plane. I saw President Loki, and I don't know what else it was. Like, that's part of why in episode 1, like, I gave a completely, you know, true summation of what I thought the series was gonna be. Like, Loki just doing shenanigans, going through time. Like, I thought President Loki was going to be, it's our, you know, it's the Loki from episode 1, and he, for some reason, needs to become president.
I didn't even think of that.
I was imagining a lot of, like, skits and stuff.
Like, I just thought that was, you know, a pin he illusioned up in this world. I didn't, you know, think anything of it.
Yeah, but yeah, I saw those, and I saw a lot of people just, like, you know, talking about the Lokis, which now I'm imagining is, you know, either all the Journey into Mystery episode, or just, you know, them talking about Loki and Sylvie.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah, boy. I'm out of stuff to talk about. Just complaints by this point.
No, I think we're good. Like, yeah, nothing else to really wrap up. I've said my piece. Disappointed, but, you know, still hopeful for what's coming next.
Yeah. I like Loki and Sylvie, and I kind of want to see more of them, but I'm not super invested in them like I was even one episode ago.
Yeah.
I feel like, which is what we got with them in this episode, felt way too forced.
Yeah, it felt like the most, this is a thing you do in TV shows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think part of it is also that we just don't really have, like, if we had a clear, and this is what Sylvie's doing next, then at the very least, you know, at the end of season 1, I could think, okay, and now that she is, you know, killed, you know, the one who remains, then she'll be doing this. Like, this is the thing she wanted to do. But we explicitly know there's nothing else she wants to do. So, like, I can't even fantasize about cool stuff she might do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's also just stuck on a rock in my mind now.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna sell one thing on to me, as someone who likes to speculate and fantasize and, do dumb fan things, it is like, sell me the illusion. Be Loki to me. Sell me the fantasy of there's gonna be cool stuff in the future.
Yeah.
And that's not what the series did.
Give me a mystery to look forward to. Like, what do I have no faith that any of this shit's gonna get resolved in any way.
Yeah. I mean, even at the end, like, we started this episode with just, stuff from the timeline. Like, just stuff from the MCU. We could have at least ended it with, like, here's some other stuff going on. here's a frame of what if or something. Like, here's here is what this means for you, the person watching this. As opposed to just, well, there's a multiverse now, but what does that mean?
Like, yeah, the fact that What If is next on our show list is like, what is this? What is this gonna be? I have no idea.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh.
Number one thing, they really should have opened up another mystery box at the end of the season if they wanted us to care about the next season.
Yeah. People complain about mystery boxes, but you need them sometimes.
Like, I don't even know how people can complain about them. Like, what else do you want? You just want this?
I mean, it seems like what people want a lot of time is either we don't do anything, or we have now explained everything about the series at the end, 3 episodes into it, and that is it. You got all the answers.
Yeah.
But this is just the wrong way of you don't have any of the answers, and that, like, I don't know what I want answers for. I don't know where I should be looking. I don't know what I should be thinking.
And, like, I gotta state over and over again, I love mystery series that go on for a long time and you are left in the dark for the majority of the time. One of my favorite mangas of all time is GANTZ. You are left in the dark as to what the fuck that is for hundreds and hundreds of chapters for the series' majority of its run. But they continue to open up other mystery boxes as you're going through it. Lost is my favorite show of all time, and that as well is you are left in the dark as to what the main mystery is for the whole show. But each season, you open up a new mystery box. And with both of those, as I'm reading it, I always start off almost every mystery series going, I don't expect any of this shit to be answered. And then slowly I go like, okay, no, I trust these writers. They're gonna answer it all by the end. And both those series tie everything together perfectly in the end. This, I have no faith that the writers are gonna tie this all together perfectly in the end. No faith. But yeah, that's it. Let's end it. See you guys.
Next we have Black Widow, right?
Yeah, next we have Black Widow. So we'll see you guys for Black Widow. I'm excited for that. Very excited for Black Widow getting a prequel movie. Again, as we've said 1,000 times, should have got this in Phase 1, but we'll take it where we can get it.
Yeah. Here we go.
And one should have gotten into Phase 1. Also, terrible that this went straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in the actual reaction to that. See you for that one. Till then, get the fuck out of here.